Dismissed as juveniles, humans turned the war table. 2 armadas vanished. Overnight Admiral HFY of the Zephyrian High Command dismissed the human delegation with a contemptuous flick of his 6-fingered hand. The bipedal creatures stood, barely half his height, their soft pink flesh unmarked by the battle scars that distinguished true warriors. Their representative, a female called Admiral Chen, maintained an infuriatingly calm expression, despite the obvious insult. "The Galactic Council has made its decision," HFY announced, his voice resonating through the crystal chamber. "The human species lacks the martial prowess necessary for full membership. You may observe the proceedings, but your input is neither required nor desired." Admiral Chen nodded once, her dark eyes unreadable. "We understand, Admiral. Thank you for your time." The other council members, towering Korthak warriors with their chitinous exoskeletons, the ethereal Velnari with their plasma-wreathed forms, and the cybernetic Nexus Collective, watched the humans file out without a second glance. To them, humanity was just another juvenile species, barely 3 centuries into space travel, with primitive kinetic weapons and crude fusion drives. What they failed to recognize was that humanity had learned something crucial during their short but brutal history: never reveal your full capabilities to potential enemies. The war began 6 months later, when the hegemony of Sektar launched their invasion of the Outer Rim colonies. Their massive dreadnoughts, each the size of a small moon, carved through the established powers' fleets like plasma through tissue. The Zephyrian Armadas, pride of the galaxy's military might, lasted exactly 4 hours against the hegemony's opening assault. The Korthak war swarms fared even worse. Their traditional tactics of overwhelming numbers meant nothing against weapons that could vaporize entire formations with a single pulse. Within days, 3 major systems had fallen. Admiral Chen watched the reports from humanity's hidden observation post in the Kepler Nebula. Her senior staff surrounded her, beings who had spent decades being underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed by the very species now facing extinction. "Ma'am," said Commander Torres, her tactical officer, "the Galactic Council is broadcasting a general distress call. All member species are requested to contribute whatever forces they can spare." Chen smiled, an expression that her crew had learned to find deeply unsettling. "How unfortunate that we're not full members. I suppose our primitive vessels wouldn't be of much use anyway." The truth was far different. While the galaxy's established powers had focused on bigger ships, stronger shields, and more powerful weapons, humanity had taken a different approach. They had studied every conflict, analyzed every tactical doctrine, and identified the critical flaw in galactic military thinking: predictability. For 2 centuries, galactic warfare had followed the same patterns. Massive fleets met in open space, trading volleys until one side's shields failed. It was honorable, it was traditional, and it was exactly what humanity had expected. Which was why the Terran Strategic Command had spent 50 years developing something the galaxy had never seen: asymmetric warfare on an interstellar scale. The first sign that something had changed came when the Sektar Second Armada, 300 dreadnoughts strong, simply vanished while in transit between the Rigel and Vega systems. One moment they were there on long-range sensors, the next, nothing but empty space and expanding clouds of superheated plasma. Admiral Vekthul of the hegemony's First Armada received the news while preparing to bombard the Centauri colonies. His massive flagship, the Worldbreaker, had shields capable of withstanding the combined firepower of an entire fleet. His escorts numbered in the hundreds, each one a match for the galaxy's finest warships. It should have been impossible for anything to threaten such a force. The attack came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Vekthul's sensors detected no ships, no energy signatures, no indication of an enemy presence. Then his escorts began dying. Not destroyed, dissolved. Their hulls simply came apart at the molecular level, as if the very bonds holding their matter together had been severed. The crews died instantly, their bodies breaking down into their component atoms before they could even scream. Vekthul ordered an immediate retreat, but it was already too late. The world breaker itself shuddered as some invisible force began tearing through its legendary armor like paper. Emergency systems screamed warnings about quantum field destabilization, molecular cohesion failure, and a dozen other impossible phenomena. In his final moments, Vekthul's sensors finally detected them. Tiny objects, no larger than a human fist, moving through space at speeds that should have been impossible for anything with mass. They swarmed his fleet like microscopic predators, each one carrying technology that made the galaxy's most advanced weapons look like stone tools. The first Armada's death throes lit up the system like a second sun. Admiral Chen received the confirmation, 12 hours later. Both hegemony Armadas had been completely eliminated with 0 human casualties. The nanoscale drones were already returning to their hidden deployment platforms, ready to be recalled or reassigned as needed. "Shall we contact the Galactic Council?" asked Commander Torres. Chen considered this. The galaxy's established powers were in chaos. The hegemony's remaining forces were retreating in disorder, their seemingly unstoppable advance ground to a halt by an enemy they couldn't even see. The council members who had dismissed humanity so contemptuously were now desperate for any assistance they could get. Not yet, she decided. Let them wonder for a while longer. When they're ready to treat us as equals rather than children, they know where to find us. She turned back to the tactical display, where hundreds of small, red dots marked the positions of humanity's hidden assets throughout the galaxy. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, manufacturing facilities built into the hearts of dead worlds, and enough nanotechnology to disassemble entire fleets one molecule at a time. The galaxy's juvenile species had just reminded their elders that sometimes the youngest predator has the sharpest teeth, and they were just getting started.